India versus Australia juggernaut has now reached its final destination. That is Ahmedabad. I am Nikhil Naz. With me, my colleague Vikrant Gupta. And behind me, the biggest cricket stadium in the world, the Narendra Modi Stadium. It has a capacity of 130,000 and it's beaten a certain stadium by the name of Melbourne Cricket Ground. So that's the series is India versus Australia. This stadium context is India versus Australia. And I believe, Vikrant, there's another context of India versus Australia.
The Prime Minister Narendra Modi is going to be there, and the Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is also going to be there. So the teams know now that the attention and the focus is going to be on them. At the same time, there's so much happening behind the scenes as well.
Gets it right this time. Puts it away to the boundary. And
Australia were 2-0 down in the Border Gavaskar Trophy, but in Indore they fought their way back into the series.
Really wanted to see a great fight in that.
The two teams are now in Ahmedabad for the final test match, which promises to be no ordinary test match. In attendance at the Narendra Modi Stadium will be two very special guests. Prime Minister Narendra Modi and his Australian counterpart Anthony Albanese will be gracing the fourth test match, and according to reports, the two prime ministers could also be seen doing commentary during the match. The Australian Prime Minister is in India on an official visit and will later head to the national capital for Australia-India Annual Leaders Summit. Anthony Albanese's visit to India is being conceived as a step to further deeper strategic and economic ties between the two countries. The Narendra Modi Stadium is all decked up to play host to the two heads of states, and they too, much like the crowd, will hope for an interesting day of cricket at the stadium, which has the edge over the famous Melbourne Cricket Ground in terms of capacity. Sports Bureau, India Today.
So we're bringing you this special show live from the Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad. And me and Vikrant have been here for more than 24 hours. And apart from, of course, the usual excitement about a cricket match that we've noticed, Vikrant, the other thing that we notice is a lot of security.
Oh yes, in fact, if you look around, anywhere and everywhere, there is security. The teams did practice today. They practiced yesterday as well, Nikhil, and the players would definitely not want to know what's happening with the security. They would be concentrating on the test match. But the beginning of the test match has a special context. If the two prime ministers are here, the relevance of the ground, the relevance of the series. How I so wish that Mr. Gavaskar is going to be there. How I so wish that Alan Border would have also been present, and that could actually be a surprise for us. I mean, he is working for a firm in Australia. Maybe at the end of the series, the end of the test match, he could well be present here.
Even if he comes here, he'd be left disappointed because he'll have to hand over the trophy to the Indian captain, no matter what happens here. But we were talking about security. That's been a common theme here. In fact, Vikrant and I were in the same hotel as the Indian and the Australian team. And more than usual, you saw security at the reception area, outside of it, at different floors. We've got you a detailed report from our reporter on the security arrangements here in Ahmedabad.
Fourth and the final test match between India and Australia will be played at the world's biggest cricket stadium at Narendra Modi Stadium in Ahmedabad, Gujarat. And let me tell you, all the preparations are already been done. Most importantly, if India wins this particular test match, it will take over the Border Gavaskar series. And let me tell you, it is also very important because first time Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be watching this match inside this particular stadium, and with him will be Australia PM Anthony Albanese, and therefore here you can see how the security arrangements have been done. Let me tell you, over 2,000 police personnel will be present at a time when both the PM will be present, and here are the fans who are present over here who are coming here to get the tickets. Sure that India is going to win?
Yes. India is going to win. India.
India is going to win for sure. But let me tell you, here we have Australian fan as well. What do you have to say about the match?
I think either pitch we will win on.
Okay.
Yeah, we have, we won the last test. We want to square the series. Everybody here not interested in winning the series. I don't know. They just want to play us in the World Championship Cup because they like playing us.
But Indians are very excited. They are saying India is going to win.
Oh, Australia's going to win.
क्या बोल रहे हो?
India.
Australia. Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. Yeah?
Tomorrow, early morning at 9, both the PM will be coming over here and watching the match together. So, lot of security arrangements have been done for this particular final test match, and all are very much excited. With camera person Prakash Mordara, this is Saurabh Vakhtania in Ahmedabad for India Today.
Right, apart from the VIPs and the dignitaries that are going to be present here in Ahmedabad, and all the arrangements have been made for that. But the big question is a cricketing question. That is, at the start of this particular series, and at least at the halfway stage, Vikrant, 2-0, honestly, hand on my heart, I was saying 4-0. But here we are at 2-1. It could very well be 2-2. What do you see happening here in Ahmedabad?
I think the Indians allowed Australia to come back. After they won in Delhi, the Indians, they dispersed. They went to their respective homes and then they reassembled in Indore about after a week. Australia spent that 1 week mulling over what had gone wrong. The captain left the ship. There were other players who went home, and they asked Steve Smith to lead the side in the absence of Pat Cummins. Now, a similar thing happened with India when they got all out for 36 in Adelaide, and then they reassembled, won the series. Australia have that sneaking chance. They have that window. And now that they've won a test match where the conditions were so lopsided in favor of the bowlers, that India had to just bat decently well enough, which they didn't. And since the Indian batsmen also have this weakness against the spinners, it also did not allow them to make a comeback in the second innings. I just hope India do not take such a chance here. Of course, it will be a turning track. It should not be a rank turner as bad as the one that we had in Indore.
But the Indian team will, of course, draw from the good memories they have here, because the last two test matches that they played here against England, they won those both games in convincing fashion. Stock. Right, India versus Australia. What's the most commonly used word when we are talking about this series? That one word that was used most often, you reckon, in this entire series?
Does it start with P?
Absolutely.
Ends with H?
It does.
It has to be the pitch, the 22 yards.
And you spoke to someone, and I spoke to someone who's faced many pitches in his life, different pitches in different conditions, and he had a thing or two to say.
See, again, Nikhil, you've got to understand that while we talk about the older generation and how they used to play spin so well, it's a fact that the indoor pitch was very bad. I mean, any batsman would have struggled. But then, for any batsman to go out, he's got to survive that period. Indians didn't. And maybe they were not prepared. Maybe in the advent of T20s and one-day cricket, they've forgotten the art of playing longish innings on a turning track. Now, I'm sure they would have learned their lessons. Gautam Gambhir did point out the fact that you need to trust your defense. If you don't trust your defense, and who are the batsmen who scored runs in the test match? You had Labuschagne, you had Khwaja, and you had
Cheteshwar.
People who were willing to spend time. Even though I do feel that this pitch will be different. It will not be as bad as the one in Indore.
You spoke about Gautam Gambhir. We were here in Ahmedabad and we had a chance to catch up with Gautam. And this is what he had to say about the pitches that have been offered so far in this series, and whether the ability of batsmen has diminished when it comes to playing spin over the years. there's a big debate, the kind of pitches that we're seeing in Test match cricket. What I want to know is, there is a school of thought that says, previous generation batsmen were more equipped to play spin, and I think the level of playing spin has deteriorated over the years because of probably more of white ball cricket. Firstly, do you agree with that assessment that it has dipped the ability to play spin now in Test cricket, this generation compared to the previous one?
Look, I don't think so. I think people like Pujara, people like Kohli, Rohit Sharma, all these guys are very good players of spin bowling. If they wouldn't have been that good players of spin bowling, they wouldn't have played 100 Test matches. You have to be a good player of spin bowling and fast bowling. So for me, I think one thing that has changed, I think the DRS has played a massive role as well. Probably couple of years back when there was no DRS and there was no LBW on the front foot. Obviously, a lot of times you will have to change that technique as well. People do not talk about that too much because now to start playing with the bat is a completely different shift from keeping your bat next to the pad. So I feel that yes, playing on turning tracks is fine, but I would definitely not appreciate Test matches finishing 2.5 days. That is not something which we all want to see. We want to see tight finishes. We want to see Test matches like New Zealand and England. And if it can go up to the 4th or the 5th day, that's fine. But 2.5 days is a little short.
I'm afraid that's all the time that we have on this very special program that we were bringing to you live from Ahmedabad. But while we were concentrating on the India versus Australia, there was also another event that happened in Ahmedabad, and me and Vikrant were there. What happened there?
Well, that was a jersey launch for an IPL team, Lucknow. But what I saw was a pleasant surprise. I mean, the cricketers doing ramp walk, and with the kind of confidence that they had, I mean, you could not actually differentiate between the models and the cricketers.
You enjoy this, and news and updates continue after a short break on India Today.
Now,